welcome to Munchin Movies. I'm Scott.
I'm Sam.
And we're munching up today some
War for the Planet of the Apes.
Bum bum bum, lightning. Yes, War for Planet of the Apes. I've been waiting for this. I love the trilogy. I thought it's, great addition to the original 70s, storylines.
And as far as reboots, this is definitely the best. That other one, we won't even talk about that.
Tim Burton one?
That's, yeah. You know what? You don't.
The very best.
But, so if you want to, let's talk about characters. So,
Yep.
Caesar. Holy crap, he is fabulous!
Caesar's story arc between all these three movies has been so interesting, and I mean, you can repropose for what the other movies were, but this one really was almost, if you've seen the last episode of the season of Samurai Jack, the introduction of how he has internal struggles with his revenge, that's how Caesar really feels. He feels broken up with his relationship to what happened during Dawn of Planet of the Apes, and now with how he's feeling because of this war. It's very conflicting to him.
Exactly, but in my opinion, especially with the arc that he has had, and here's the irony of it, is that I feel like his character is the most human of all the characters that are in there because of the compassion, the sadness that he feels, the revenge. Like, he has very human characteristics, and it just shines through fabulously through Andy Serkis. So, good job, Andy.
Yeah. And then I think as supporting cast goes, real quick, Maurice and
who's always fabulous, yeah.
And Donkey, actually the bad gorilla on the other side, and even the gorilla and the other chimp who are on the team. I don't know their names. They all did great. You felt so much for them, especially Maurice. Even Bad Monkey, the little kind of goofy looking monkey that could also talk.
Yeah, he was voiced by Steve Zahn, who I thought was fabulous.
Yeah.
And I was worried because he was kind of the comedic relief, but I felt like for such a heavy movie, it was just the right amount of
this movie,
comedic relief.
Yeah, it's definitely heavier. It's a lot like Logan, where it just it's a really great movie, but constantly hitting you with reality the entire time. And so you had to have this character like that to just lighten up a little bit. And it could definitely be a break, character if he didn't do it right. But I felt like they did it right, where it's just speckled in and at perfect moments.
And let's talk about the quote-unquote villain, Woody Harrelson, the Colonel. This is where me and Scott kind of differ a little bit, because I kind of actually connect with him a little bit more, because yes, he is the bad guy and he does really bad things. But I understand where he's coming from, though. I know why he did what he did. I don't necessarily agree with it, but I know why. So, anyway, go ahead.
I don't think so.
See?
I mean, I definitely think he is the villain. I think he gets his comeuppance, and I'm really super glad that Caesar didn't actually pull the trigger in the end.
I know. Yes.
It's just so much tugs on your heartstrings the whole time, where I want him to rip him apart the entire movie, and then when he gets up there and you're ready for this final scene, and yeah, it's kind of cliche in certain ways, and I don't think the movie was really very predictable, but when you saw that doll and that he couldn't speak, you're like, oh my gosh, this is...
It just hits you I guess you couldn't really predict it. Afterwards, after you realize that's what it was, you're like, oh, duh, of course.
Yeah.
But
I feel like he's a bad guy for sure. And I'm not saying that I don't think he's a good guy in any respects, but I definitely feel like he's a bad guy who gets his comeuppance properly, rather than just making Caesar be this cold-blooded killer. And I really feel like in that interaction between those two characters, you finally get this conclusion, and I kind of don't think that they probably should do another movie. You said that they shouldn't.
No, for me, this was the conclusion of a fabulous trilogy. Don't mess with it.
It leaves you on a great bittersweet ending of them finally getting to
their home, to where they're free, and since it's a spoiler,
I just keep thinking of Littlefoot on Land Before Time, getting to the Green Valley. That's what they finally get to the Green Valley.
It totally reminds you of that. But it's only at that point that Caesar finally kind of gives up the ghost, so to speak, because he's actually hurt. But he had to see that they were safely there, and so that's why it was bittersweet. So, of course, I bawled. I cry. I'm a crybaby.
So we've hit a little bit on story, but what do you think about story-wise?
I thought it was fabulous. I felt like it touched on everything. It touched on the human aspect. It touched on the primitive aspect. It pulled me a million different directions, and yeah.
I think I was watching some other reviews. I think James Ralph put a great on his Cinemassacre reviews, where he said, it's like if Jesus was a monkey and he was in a concentration camp. It works perfectly. It's like,
I know, and it totally doesn't make sense until you watch the movie.
Yeah, like, how could Jesus Christ being a monkey on a concentration camp work perfectly? But no, it really does, like, work. It's great.
Work.
I mean, I think this one, if I had to say, like, the second one, I always equated it to Lion King, where it felt like this struggle of power between, rulers. With this one,
he always thinks everything reminds him of Lion King.
Well, with this one, I really felt like it was a war movie. It really felt like a World War II movie, especially with the dark, gray tones of the whole movie, grading-wise on the film. And also just, like, going into that camp and seeing all these monkeys and how they're treating everyone, and it really does have those somber, effect of it. So it's great, but it's definitely heavy, very, very heavy. And if you have any compassionate heart towards animals, you're probably gonna cry. Sam's kind of the compassionate person to those, but even me, I was like, I'm not crying, but it's pretty sad.
Even if they weren't animals, like I think that's another reason why I like this movie so much, is that I was so enthralled with the story that I actually forgot that Caesar and Maurice and all of them that they were apes. Mm-hmm. Like to me, I felt that, like I said, they felt more human than most characters.
And that's going into the next thing that we want to talk about, which is the filmmaking, and particularly the visual effects, because everyone would say, oh, that movie has crappy CG, I could tell that it was fake. Fast and the Furious, I could tell that the car wasn't really there or whatever, or, any, large-scale, disaster movie or whatever. But I think a lot of people mistake visual effects for animation, because a lot of people say, oh, animated movies are for kids. But visual effects are for everything, and it's like visual effects and animation are the same thing. And this is coming from an animator who enjoys animating things, and I would wish that people would respect him more. And this is the movie that you really need to show the respect for the animation, because you really do.
It was all there. They pulled out all the stops on this.
You feel for the Caesar and Maurice and all those monkeys so much, and there's times when there's no dialogue.
The dialogue.
It's sign language, and it's the performance that they got from the motion capture suits, and along with the animators animating the really intricacies to the faces, that really brings those characters to life. You're creating life out of nothing, and I think a lot of people just pass it off as animation is for kids, and it's like, are you kidding me? Making life out of nothing, that's for kids? I think that's really overlooked, and I wish that people would go see this movie
and it was truly
really give it
perfected in this
its
movie.
go for how revolutionary it is, really, in that sense.
Okay, so how shall you rate it?
I would say 1 out of 10, I think it's... See, I'm pretty critical. I'll give things... I don't think most things are below 5, but I don't think most things are above an 8. But this movie, I think it's like a 9.5. I think it's a really, really good. I wouldn't give anything 10 probably, but 9.5 is practically perfect for me.
And for me, I can only think of one thing that's truly, in my opinion, critical, and I had to really think about it to find something critical about it. So I'm going to give it a 9.7.
Yeah.
It was awesome.
By the way, a lot of people are saying, there's nothing to say, there's no bad part of this movie. There are some parts to be critical of. There are parts where, like, the girl walks right into the camp,
But it's so minuscule,
how does that
forget
work?
that.
Yeah, but it doesn't have anything to necessarily do with the performance, with the story arc. You still feel just as invested, but there are those moments where you're like, well, that couldn't have happened. So it's not perfect, but 9.5.
9.7, go see it.
Yeah, definitely. So, thanks for watching.